Bonus Chapter 3. Mr. Boom Boom. They came to a little garage. A very furry rabbit was busy putting petrol into a car driven by another toy rabbit. They looked at Saucepan in surprise as he came along with the others. "Hello," said the garage rabbit. "What's the idea of wearing a saucepan for a hat? I can't say I've ever seen a rabbit wearing a hat before." "Well, you've seen one now," said Saucepan, not very politely. "Bother these awful floppy ears. I hate them. They make me look like a toy rabbit." "Well, you are a toy rabbit, floppy ears and all," said the rabbit, staring. "That's where you're wrong," said Saucepan. "I'm not. I hate being one. Ugly creatures with stupid long ears and quivering whiskers." "Stop it, Saucepan," said Joe, in a warning voice. He turned to the surprised rabbit. "You must excuse him," he said. "He's really a saucepan man, and as you can see, and I'm not really a clockwork clown, I'm a boy." "Oh, excuse me. I can feel another somersault coming on." He turned head over heels and then stood up straight again. "I see," said the rabbit. "Well, I just hate to be an ugly little saucepan man. So I know what he feels about being a rabbit, though rabbits are very handsome creatures, like myself. He should be pleased he's turned into one." "Well, we really like being ourselves best," said Franny. "I'm a little girl, not a doll, and this is my teddy bear, and he is really Moonface." "Never heard of him," said the rabbit. "Didn't know there were such things as moonfaces." Franny giggled. Silky went up to the rabbit and smiled at him. "Please do help us," she said. The rabbit stared at her. He thought she was the prettiest doll he'd ever seen in the village of toys. The rabbit, who was inside the car, leaned out. "Of course we'll help you," he said. "What do you want us to do?" "Well, we did hope all this would wear off," said Silky in a high doll's voice. That was quite sweet. "Well, we did hope all this would wear off," she said in a high doll's voice that sounded quite sweet. "But it hasn't, and we wondered if you knew how we could get back to ourselves again." The two rabbits looked at one another. "Difficult," said one. "Very," said the other. "What about the spell maker, Mr. Boom Boom," said the first one. "If he's in a good mood, he might do something for them." "Yes, but if he's in a bad mood, he might turn them into something worse," said the second rabbit. "Then we won't go there," said Joe hurriedly, and turned another somersault. "We could see if he's in a good mood or a bad mood before we say anything," said the rabbit. "I'll take you there in my car, if you can all squeeze in." "Well, we could try," said Moonface, his little round teddy bear face looking worried. The rabbits told Silky to sit next to him. He thought she was really beautiful and very sweet. "I am sure if you want to ask Mr. Boom Boom a favour, he would say yes at once," he said. "I've never seen anyone as pretty as you." "Well, you're a very handsome rabbit," said Silky, and that pleased him very much. They all squeezed into the car somehow, waved to the friendly garage rabbit, and set off. "I feel a somersault coming," said Joe suddenly. "I'm so sorry, but will you please stop the car so I can go and turn head over heels?" "You're going to be a bit of a nuisance," said the rabbit driver. "Can't you do a dozen and make those do for a while?" "I'll try," said poor Joe. So he got out and did 9, but no more would come. So he got back into the car. "I do wish you didn't wear so many pans and kettles," he said to Saucepan. "Move that kettle, will you? It's sticking its spout into me." Kettles don't have snouts, said Saucepan. Spout, I said, not snout, said Joe crossly. Now, there's something else sticking in me. A saucepan handle. I haven't got any candles, said Saucepan, mishearing again. You know I haven't. You're just making a fuss with all your chatter about snouts and candles. I said shouts and pandals. Handles. No, I said shouts and pandals, bellowed Joe, losing his temper. No, I don't mean that. I mean... Pouts and scandals, said Franny, with a squeal of laughter. Be quiet, you two. Saucepan, dear, be sensible. He meant spouts and handles. Look, they're sticking into him. Well, why didn't you say so, then? Grumbled Saucepan Man, moving the kettle and the saucepan that was sticking into Moonface instead. Goodness, Moonface, what are you growling about now? Moonface turned his teddy bear face to the saucepan. You're not kind, he said. No, I don't mind, said Saucepan, whose hearing had gone quite wrong with the noise of the car and the jangling of his pans. Of course I don't mind. Why should I mind? Mind what, anyhow? Stop talking, said the rabbit at the wheel. I keep listening and it all sounds so mad, and I'm sure I shall drive into a tree or something. Anyway, I want to talk to this dear doll here, Silky. Nobody talked after that except Silky and the toy rabbit. The car went on, and at last Joe went on, and at last Joe wanted to get out and go head over heels again. Can you stop? He called. Goodness, I've gone right past Mr. Boom Boom, said the rabbit, putting on his brakes so suddenly that the Saucepan Man flew off Saucepan's head. Oh, goodness, I've gone right past Mr. Boom Boom, said the rabbit, putting on the brakes so suddenly that the Saucepan flew off Saucepan Man's head and rolled away down the road. Yes, get out and somersault for a bit while I turn the car around. So Joe did about 10 somersaults, while the toy rabbit turned the car around again. Then back they went to find Mr. Boom Boom. Don't start talking to Silky or you'll go right past again, begged Franny. But this time the rabbit kept his eye open for Mr. Boom Boom's house, and suddenly put on his brakes again. There goes another one of my saucepans, groaned Saucepan Man. Did we have to stop so suddenly? Nobody took any notice of him. They stared at the funny little door set in a grassy hill. On it was printed in bold black letters, Boom Boom, knock 7 times. Silky, you go, said Franny. Perhaps Boom Boom will be nice to you. You really do look very sweet. All right, I'll knock, said Silky bravely, though she felt very scared. She got out of the car and went up to the little door. She took hold of the knocker and knocked it 7 times. Blam, 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 blam. A loud voice came from inside. Stop knocking. Once is quite enough. Oh dear, he's in a bad mood, called the rabbit. Come back quickly, Silky, and we'll drive off. I can't come, wailed Silky. The knocker has got hold of my hand and it won't let go. Joe jumped out at once and went to help her. But Silky was quite right. The knocker had a tight hold of her hand and wouldn't let go of it. Moonface went to help too, and then the Saucepan Man, looking very worried, and just at that very moment the door opened, pulling poor Silky with it, and a voice boomed out loudly, What's all this disturbing me in the middle of my spells? Everyone thought that Boom Boom excuse me, was a very good name for him, booming at them like that. But he wasn't a bit like his voice. He was an old pixie, with a beard so long that it trailed behind him. He had big pointy ears and wore a funny little round hat, with feathers in it like a butterfly. His eyes were green as grass and very bright indeed. He frowned at them all, and then he saw Silky, still held by the knocker. "Ah," he said, and a smile broke on his face, like the sun shining out suddenly. "Ah, what a dear little doll! No wonder my knocker wouldn't let you go. Where did you come from? I've never seen a doll as pretty as you. Do you know where you ought to be?" "No," said Silky with a gasp. "You ought to be standing at the very top of a great big Christmas tree with Santa Claus has in his castle, said Boom Boom in his booming voice. "He's always looking for the prettiest doll in the world to put there, but he's never found one as pretty as you." "I'm not a doll," said Silky. "I'm a fairy. I've been turned into a doll today." "Let her go, knocker," said the pixie. "Come in, all of you. Why have you paid me this visit?" "He seems to be in a very good mood now," whispered Joe to Moonface. "I think it's safe to go in." They all went in, and the door shut with a bang that made them jump into the air. They all went in, and the door shut with a bang that made them all jump. There was a narrow, very winding passage that led into the hill. They followed the pixie down it, everybody stumbling over his very long beard that trailed out behind him. He didn't seem to mind. He took them to a big room with a very low ceiling. A great fire burned in the middle, but the flames were green, not red, and no heat came from them. I was just making a few spells, said Boom Boom, his big voice echoing all around the room. "I'm a spell maker, you know." "Yes, that's why we came," said Silky, feeling very nervous. "Please, dear Mr. Boom Boom, will you use a spell to help us? We want to go back to our right selves. I'm a fairy, really, as I told you." "And we're really little girls," said Beth and Franny. "And this clown is a boy. And the toy rabbit is an old saucepan man. And I'm Moonface," said Moonface, his little teddy bear face looking very earnest. "Please do help us." "Ha!" said Boom Boom, looking around them and beaming. "Well, I don't mind doing that. That's easy, but I'll do it on one condition." "What's that?" asked Joe, his heart sinking. "I'll turn 5 of you back to your own shape, but I want the little doll here, the very pretty one, to stay with me so that I can sell her to Santa Claus to put on top of his tree. It will be such an honor for her. You'd love that, wouldn't you, my dear?" he said to Silky, turning to her. Silky looked very frightened. "Well, I'll stay and let you sell me to Santa Claus," she said, "if you use the spell on the others." "Oh dear, darling Silky," said Moonface, putting his furry arm around her. "How sweet of you, but we wouldn't let you. We'd never leave you here alone." "Never," said Joe. "Never, never, 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 never," said Joe, Beth and Franny. "I'm going to stay," said Silky, looking as if she was going to cry, but smiling at them at the same time. It won't be so bad going to Santa Claus, though it sounds very dull standing on top of his Christmas tree. But it's for you, you see, so I want to do it." "Of course she means want to do it," said Boom Boom, She's a sensible little doll. Be quiet, said Joe. I tell you, we won't let her do it. We'd rather be toys all of our lives than that. Then Mr. Boom Boom lost his temper. He rushed at Joe, but Joe did a very clever thing. He caught him by his long beard, dragged him to the big table, and tied him to it with his beard, making dozens of knots. Now, quick, let's go, he cried. Sorry about tying you up, Boom Boom, but you're not going to have Silky. Run, everyone. They ran up the winding passage and came out at the hillside. And, oh, thank goodness, there was a rabbit waiting in his car. What a wonderful sight!